Well, hey everybody, I'm Chris Petracchi and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, please consider liking and subscribing, hitting the notification bell, make a comment. It really does help push the video, and um, if you subscribe, that's awesome too. I'm almost at 12K. That's cool. I'd like to make that get pushed over that milestone. And gosh, I got some people here. I got Michael. Michael, it's good to see you. How are you? Um, Sam Pico is here. As always, nice to see you. Let me know where you guys are at. Sam Pico, I know where you at. I'm not sure where you are, Michael. So let me know in the chat where you're from. Um, I'm excited to be here. I wanted to start out with a little gratitude. Um, it is beautiful weather here. I'm thankful for that. Been able to exercise every day. That is a plus. We definitely need to do that. Nick, how you doing from San Francisco? Nick is here and he's helping me out with the audio, video, and making sure everybody can hear me. Can you hear me out there? You guys let me know in the chat if you could see me, hear me. Let's see, what else? I'm grateful. What are you guys grateful for? Also, let me know what you're grateful for in the chat. We'll get some positive vibes happening here. Health is good, and I hope you guys are doing well too. Absolutely. So let's kind of come in here with a little quote that I thought was good. The goal: get addicted to the sense that you can influence your destiny. I think that's a very good goal. Why? Well, I definitely feel motivated, for me personally, when I feel that I can learn something and that I can achieve something. That for me, right there, has motivated me since forever. Early on, I learned to play guitar and sing, and that was one source of motivation, was music, and the fascination there to be able to reproduce sounds that I heard on albums. And the other thing was the world around me, and just that curiosity that we've talked about in past live streams of the questions that come when you're curious, and they yield answers, but they produce more questions, and it's sort of this never-ending wheel that turns, and it's a source of inspiration for me. And I realized finally that there is no ending to it. There's no ceiling. Can I get an amen in the chat from you guys? There's just no better thing and no end to learning. That's exciting. And it busted open my ego, my conceit a long time ago that needed to be broken open. And that was kind of painful because I was disoriented. But once I do that, I realized I walked through another doorway, and I realized there's no limit. So as long as I was open and curious, I'm going to be learning, and I can do that till I'm an old person. And what a wonderful path to open up for life in front of us. So I like that. And you guys let me know. Yeah. Michael says, always painful. It's the purpose. Yeah. Mike's also in Springfield, Illinois, home of Abe Lincoln. Right on. That's a great place to be, Springfield. Haven't been there, but it would be nice to go. There's a lot of places I haven't been in the USA. And so let's get moving here. I'm going to do a little something, and then we'll do a little something critique as well. So let's just kind of go through. Last time we talked about this thing called redheads, and the redheads was this concept that helped us control values, and that's why I set it up. And a couple examples on the left. We did this demo last time, and you can see the photo reference. What I did was in red here, and we read because it narrowed the value range and helped us control our values, because a lot of times the drawing will get out of whack. It's because the values get too dark and too light, and then either it's really spotty and it's noisy, or it's really dirty and messy looking. So if we're first learning value, we want to take, instead of 1 through 10 black to white, we can take 1 through, let's say, 5. So if I'm kind of sampling this color here, if we look on the color wheel, it's somewhere, I guess you guys can see over here, it's somewhere really pretty light, that value. It doesn't get dark. And so that's good. So we're cutting off at least half of the value scale, right? If I'm over here and sample the guy's hair on the photo reference, it's all the way black. That's too much to handle a lot of times. So this middle one is an exercise where you leave on the light side. Let me see if I can get this going here. On the light side, bling, on the light side, we're going to have, I didn't do that right. On the light side, we're going to have all of the value, let's say, that we're using, and we're going to use it to bring the illusion of form. So we're going to spend our construction money on the light side, right? We're going to construct. On the dark side, it's going to be about shape and value. We're going to leave it flat. Okay? So this part, we're just sort of putting aside the dark side, keeping it very simple, because the less we have to juggle, the better. And then we're going to practice our construction, lighting, value on the light side. Okay. And yet we're still, if we put these pieces together, we're still getting a full drawing out of it that looks pleasing. It's aesthetically pleasing. And so it's the less is more. We're using no detail, like 0%. The dark side, right? This is on the dark side. No detail in the shadows. It's flat. We're also practicing shape design, because if your shapes aren't inspiring in the shadows, your piece won't be, as inspiring as it could be. So shape design is in play too. On the light side, again, we're using all this stuff. And so you can go pretty far, so you can see how I've used the detail to build the eye, the nose, mouth, and there's just a light value here and a half tone here, and then here's the shadow. So we're really taking care of the shadow. It's the quality of the edge between the light and dark that goes so far. It's so efficient. You'll be amazed at what you can get away with. You don't have to work so hard. So this also cuts down on your workflow. So if you're not drawing half the drawing, just about, right, then you're going to work almost half the time on the drawing. So there's a time benefit to this too. So that's all there for this. So if we move to the next drawing here. This is a drawing I did. I put it up on Instagram. There's a little 30-second reel too that you can watch how I did it in Procreate. And it's the same idea, only I've gone full value. So this one's full value here. But it's what you can do. Notice how this is all left out, right? There's nothing there. Nothing in the shadows, go flat. And it's almost like, I just thought of this taking a walk yesterday, was that this is like, we call it redheads, but it's also like like window painting. Gosh, I need to get some reference for this. But when you're looking in a window from the street, it's a sunny day, what you see in the reflection of that window, if you're in the light, you see you see elements of the background, whatever's behind you, shops, cars, other people. Whatever's not lit, whatever's not hit by those photons of light is in shadow. Well, it doesn't reflect back. If you're looking at a storefront window, right, that's dark inside, so it's light outside, dark inside, you're being reflected on that glass. And what's in the shadow, you don't see it. You actually see inside the shop or the store. That's like what this is. This is what you would see. This side, on the light side, is fully realized, right? The light is hitting the form and it's turning the form, and you see everything in 3D. But in the shadow side, you're looking in that window, there's nothing. It's just dark, or you see a little bit inside the store. Try it next time. And that it's a kind of a West Coast style where I learned this. Robert Hunt, Kazuhiko Sano, but it all started with the Golden Age illustrators, and I can't think of their names right now. I will, but they had a watercolor style, and in the shadows they did nothing. They left it flat, no detail. It was just shape and a value, and they did all the beautiful rendering on the light side. Who were those watercolorists? Can't think of it. But anyway, that's where this sort of is. And these are the benefits of working this way. And you can go all the way, right? You can go all the way realized on the light side and just keep it so flat and graphic. And what's the key? What is the secret? Well, the secret is very good observation. And in particular, the boundary between light and dark. And you're asking yourself, is it two types of shadows, crisp and soft? So hard and soft, right? Hard and crisp, or soft. That's it. That's the question. And you just go through and you just take great care in drawing that visually so it communicates that, right? So the crisp edges are usually going to be cast shadows. Backing up here, or form shadows. So we have form shadows here. Those are going to be soft or firm. And we're just going through and it's describing form all the way down. And then we get cast shadow right there. That's crisp. Now the form and cast shadows follow each other like twin brother and sister down the figure, down the form, down the face, right? So here's a form shadow. Here's the cast shadow, right? All that's cast. All this is down the left side of the face, form. Here's the cast shadow. There's the form shadow. This is not a great example of that because we need a little more shadow for that, but it's like that form cast all the way down. And if you look for those, see right here's the form of the ball of the nose, and here's the projection of that nose onto the upper lip. as a crisp cast shadow. And so that, my friends, is what you must pay attention to. Very good attention to it. And then just draw it accordingly to the best of your ability. A soft edge or hard edge. It's just about that simple. Everything in the shadow, just flatten it out. It can be hatching, it can be just a flat patch, right? But there can be, as you can see, a little bit of movement in there. Cross hatching, change direction, that's okay too, as long as it doesn't interrupt with your beautiful statement over on the light side, right? You don't want it too noisy. So, think of it as window painting, redheads, whatever name you want to use to help you. And you can go very far leaving some of it out because the contrast, everything I do on that light side looks very real because it's side by side in contrast with the very simple suggested. So this is the power. That's another thing I wanted to say was the power of suggestion is huge here. All this stuff here on that side of the shadow is suggestion, right? That's all suggested. On the other side, this is all spelled out. It's awesome. It's just, you can't beat it. I love it. Um, so it's the suggestion. It's heavily suggested. That way, your viewer can enter in, and they can bring to it what they want. They fill it in with what they see, with what they need to see in that moment. And so you're creating, even though you're not there, maybe the art's hanging on the wall, you're creating this moment where a person can kind of see themselves in your art, right? And it's like, that's poem, that's poetry, that's beautiful. It's the opportunity, it's movement, it's dialogue. And so if you can bring that to your audience and they can enjoy art, they can enjoy life through your art, people will pay you money for it. They'll they'll keep their eyes on your work a little bit longer, and that is awesome. Let's see who's in the chat here. Shop window, yes, the shop window. All right, so I want to take you guys through or begin a series here of something that I've called the battle for creativity here. And let me see if I can go through this. This is basically the fundamentals. It's what you need to succeed in art in a very basic way, but I think a powerful way. And it's sort of about creativity. It's about artists' obstacles and how to overcome them. It's as simple as that. So let's kind of go through this. This is adapted from an artist named Paul Richards, who's a concept artist, an amazing visual problem solver, creative person, artist, and Stephen Pressfield. And Stephen Pressfield wrote a book called The War of Art. So it's kind of an amalgam of these guys. And if I can step through this. Yes. Okay. So just let's go through this. I think it's worthy of your attention. So, challenges. What do we have to face? What do we have to do? A lot of times, clients are going to help or hire us to think through visual problems and do this on paper. We're solving things in a visual way on paper. We have to paint and draw almost any angle. So we're kind of talking about illustration concept art here, but I think you can generalize pretty well. for the tasks that artists need to do. It could be storyboard, character design. Somebody wants you to paint a portrait. All right, so we've got a battle on our hands, and whenever we're trying to pursue something, remember, um, living a creative life and asking questions and uncovering things, it's a lifestyle. So whenever we're pursuing something we want to, we set it up out there as a goal and we move forward, something's going to come in and try to stop us. Okay, that's just life. So we're engaged, we're in this kind of struggle, and we've got enemies. So there's you, there's your enemies. There's a little foreshadowing here. We're going to use some thumbnails to solve problems. So to be successful, we've got to know we're in a fight. We have to know we're in a fight. If we don't know we're in a fight, we're going to be handicapped. Second, we need to know our enemies. And third, we've got to know that we have friends and allies to help us. So in a perfect world, there's no war, right? We just come up with perfect drawings. We'd be happy, our clients would be happy, and they would love us, but we're not perfect people by far. And so we're not going to hit the target the first try or the second try, and maybe not even on the third. So we need an ally. That's going to be the thumbnail. And I used to hate, I confess, I hated thumbnails. I would just get too caught up in the details. So I'm talking to you guys. Hey, I'm just like you, too caught up in the details, didn't know how to design within a small frame the bare bones information that I needed. And that cost me big time, right? And it's not good for your production pipeline. So we need a couple things, the thumbnail and the drawing fundamentals. So what's a thumbnail? Again, as I said, it's small, it's bare bone information, it's a rough sketch, and it shows basically compositional elements, which, good proportion and silhouette, darks and lights, no details. Here's some examples of some really rough sort of thumbnail drawings. Stuff like this, these are really rough. You got to know your enemies, people. So if we know our enemies, we can face them, right? If you don't know them, you can't face them, you can't win. Here's our biggest enemies. Uncertainty, right? You guys know what that's like. I know what that's like. We don't know where to begin. And thumbnails kind of help us throw things down on the page, and they're kind of they're loose and scribbly, and they help us warm up, but there's something that we can also throw away very easily. They're very, I guess you could say, kind of flirtatious, and so they're easily discarded to come up with a new one. They don't take a lot of time. So here's an enemy, is overconfidence. So we have uncertainty, that's one of our enemies, and then overconfidence. Being too confident is something to kind of be careful about, because if the ego's in play, we're just going to stay on the surface. In other words, we need to crack through the surface and go a little deeper. And usually we need to do a lot of drawings for that to happen. So the thumbnail is really an encouraging tool to help us get through the layers of consciousness and come up with new possibilities, right? So we're exploring it, and here's a key phrase: pushing it a little too far. We don't know how too far is until we go a little too far. Then we can bring it back. Another one is fear of commitment. So thumbnails aren't a commitment, right? They're quickly discarded, as I mentioned. They're quick and dirty, and we can work fast. That's all to our advantage. The fear of failure, that's a big one. Let me hear you guys in the chat. What are your biggest enemies that hold you back? I'm sure a lot of these are similar across the board for artists and people in general. But fear of failure, think about this: to increase your success rate, double your failure rate. That seems counterintuitive. It sounds like something Michael Jordan would say, that he won more games because he took more shots, and because he took more shots, he missed more shots than anybody, but because he took more shots, he made more more shots, won more games. So you've got to increase your failure rate, your output. Small scale failures are better than one big one. I like that a lot. This has really pulled me out and saved me because I would just go for the perfect drawing, and that was it. Once I shot that bullet, I was shooting blanks. So if I didn't like, I'd spend hours. The client didn't like it. If I didn't like it, it was frustration at the end of it. So one of my teachers said, "You're gonna have to learn to fail and love it." And he said it with a big smile on his face. And it was like the way he presented it was, it made it palatable. It made the medicine kind of go down because I thought it was a bunch of BS, but somehow his friendliness, his um, let it go underneath my defenses and fail and love it was something that was like, actually, I could, I don't know, be open to that and make failure fun, because failure was not fun for me growing up in sports and all that stuff. Perfection was the goal. And I didn't know anything else. So failing and loving it was very foreign, and it was scary, and it was kind of, uh, yeah, didn't want to fail. The whole idea of failing in front of people as an artist was like a phobia or something like that, right? When you're in art class, you can't do a bad drawing, so you're all stiff and stuck. They had to do a lot of drawings and then fail and learn to love it. And that's what I'm still learning to do. One thing that helped me with that was karaoke. Don't laugh, but this perfectionism thing followed me around. So if I did music, I wouldn't perform unless it was perfect. And so I got this job as a karaoke um, sound person. So I worked with this woman, and she was the VJ. She would announce people and talk, and I would do the sound. But when no one was there to sing, I would have to sing. And we were set up in bars all the time. So when I sang, I realized that when I made mistakes, nobody laughed. No one laughed. They were all busy. And so it was just a perfect place for me to keep launching out and keep trying new things. And I gained confidence that way over hundreds of times to where I didn't care anymore. That's where you need to get, right? So let's keep going here. Pressure to impress. That's another one, right? It's that self consciousness has to be perfect. Um, yeah, we are our toughest critic, Nick says. Exactly. Michael says competition, ack. Yeah. We're brainstorming, communicating ideas and bare bones information. That's kind of an answer to this. Laziness. Woo, we don't need to get caught up, bogged down by details and polish, things that weigh us down. Thumbnails help us keep it simple. I'm telling you, thumbnails is the key. Let's see, screening out too much detail. We got friends too. So we just covered our enemies. We got friends, your fellow artists. Okay. When we're creating alone, we have a tendency to see things as better than they are. It's kind of a bias, right? We want to succeed, so we don't want to look at what's wrong, because then we'd have to do the hard work of fixing it. So we need a other pair of eyes. One thing you can do is flip it, right? Get a mirror image. That helps you see angles, proportions, and relationships in a way you can spot problems. Another way is to send it to a friend or call them and say, hey, look over my shoulder. I want to know what you think of this. Untrained or trained, okay? Take what you can get, because the untrained eye can tell you it doesn't look right, because they know what looks right. They don't know why, but they know if it doesn't look right. So use your friends to help you. Two heads are better than one. Okay. Drawing fundamentals. This is really the key, along with the thumbnails, is the drawing fundamentals, because they give you the basic tools. and a strong foundation. Repetition of the basics gets them embedded into your muscle memory. This is kind of a must as well, and your subconscious. And the most important skill of all for the concept artist, for the artist, is thumbnailing. So that's your most precious ally in battle. We've got perspective, okay, working and making things look 3D and 2D. So being able to draw things along the 3 dimensions is the illusion of depth. And so knowing perspective helps. There are ways to get around that, and we can cover that. But it gives you, if you know perspective, you can move the camera around and you can go high, you can go low, you can go neutral, and you have some freedom there. Working with all 3 axes makes for strong, solid forms. Absolutely. Right. If you're working in only 1 or 2, which is pretty flat, you're not going to get that bump. So 1, 2, and 3 perspective. There you go. All 3 axes, X, Y, Z. Draw on all 3 axes. So on the left and right, you can see the vanishing point, the horizon line, HL, that's in the middle. When you're standing right in front, that's also eye level. So if we're looking at a cube, you're not going to see the top and bottom. You're going to see an inside corner that appears to, the sides of which appear to recede or converge on one vanishing point on the left and one vanishing point on the right. Okay, that's if you're standing neutral, looking straight ahead. What about if you're looking up or down? In the diagram here in box A, you're looking up. And so there's the inside corner, the 2 sides, but there's also a third side. The bottom is revealed. So we are concerned with 3 types of lines. The lines that go off to the right, the lines that go off to the left, and the ones that go straight up and down. Okay, I'm really trying to simplify perspective for you here. 3 kinds of lines, let's say 3 kinds of parallel lines that you need to take note of. The ones that go off to the right, the ones that go off to the left vanishing point, and the ones that go straight up and down. All right, that's doable. If we're looking down, let's move down to box C. We're below eye level. So if this horizon line is eye level, that means we're looking down. We're seeing the top of something. We're seeing 2 sides and a top. That's the most we're ever going to see of an object is 3 sides. So everything else is behind, right? But that 3/4 down or up shot is going to give us the most bang for our buck in terms of how much we can see an object, right? Because, right, if we're looking neutral in this box B, we only see 2 sides. If we look up or down, we see 3. We can see 3. So that's basically kind of your perspective. If you can sort of handle that, it's pretty powerful. And then after you do it for a while, and you can do that by practicing boxes for about 3-4 hours, you get the handle of it intuitively, and you won't need to do as much strict respect, drawings where you're respecting the vanishing points. There is a third vanishing point. If we take this box A and we're looking up, those parallel lines that go straight up and down, they will tend to look like they're converging, and if you draw through, they'll converge at a vanishing point up above and sometimes out of the picture plane altogether. That's the third vanishing point. That's pretty, that's more complex. But I'm going to stop there and let's go into some of the critique stuff. So I'm going to quit that out of there, and let's go to this. So where are we at? We're at 7:35. Got about a half an hour. So let's go. So I hope that was helpful. I'm going to continue that in following weeks. We're going to get through this battle for creativity and go through the fundamental things and how we can counter each of the um, things that we're going to find they're going to stop us or threaten to stop us. They don't have to stop us. Okay. Um, Here we go. Let me turn on the layer here. Here we go. So the first up is Mimika, and she's in bed. I bet you she's over there in Greece, sleeping, and good for her. So let's um let's jump into this beautiful drawing. It's quite nice. I'm going to turn on my little grayscale here, value scale, if we need it. So Peak has been really improving a lot, and this is a case in point. I think the values are great. The sense of form, the half tones, the core shadow, cast shadow, and then the darks themselves are really good. The expression is really good, isn't it? It really looks like the raised eyebrows, the mouth, which is where you're going to find most. Um, if you manipulate the brow and the mouth, you're going to get the most expression, right? The nose doesn't really matter too much. The eyes kind of do, but those eyebrows, right? They do all the work, and the mouth. She's got that down, right? So we've got Woody Allen here, and so the only thing that I think, could be adjusted a little bit, right, would be the proportion. And let me just duplicate that. If we go into the filter and we just tweak that a little bit, and we kind of pulled that chin down. Very handy tool is this finger up here on the top left. I can just push and pull things. And, that's kind of there. But check it out. You can come over here and there's the eyes, nose, mouth. What do they do? Well, the eye size, see that left eye? I can just, on the slider, increase the eye size, the eye height, eye tilt. This is a pretty powerful thing in Photoshop, right? So you can tweak things over in here. The eye distance. Maybe you need a little bit more distance in the eyes, the way the photo reference is. Okay, nose, what does that do? Bling, right? Okay, so there's that. Nose width. Okay. And then we can do the same thing with the smile, upper and lower lip, the face shape. Let's go down there and forehead. I kind of, oh, isn't that's so powerful? The chin height, bling, right? So I could do it that way too. Remember, I took that finger and I pulled down the proportion. We could do it here, to make that face a little longer. Jawline, what's that gonna do? Ooh, oh my gosh, it's crazy. And then the face width and stuff. Okay, so we tweaked a little, and there we go. All right, so I think this is a great job. I'm loving how you're expressing your forms and you're using value to do it, to create the illusion of depth. Would like to quiet down the left side of this thing so that it's you've got the texture going, but if it was a little darker, it would feature his face a little more and frame it. It wouldn't jump out so much. Okay, great texture though, and maybe this bounce light there on the left side of his neck, cheek area. Let's quiet that down a little bit. There you go. Right, awesome. Let's see what else we got here. Okay. So here, okay, if we're going to be getting loose, right, and all this stuff here, right, we need to have the, I find it works well for me when I have that counterbalanced with some area of tightness. So we're kind of playing tight against loose bravado passages of nice thick brush strokes, so to speak. So I kind of think of drawing as akin to painting, and that's where you can kind of get away with some of this, whether it's watercolor or oil. You know, this stuff in the background can play support to something that's really tight in here. So I'm thinking you need to tighten down a little bit more. So if you, one thing here is picking a photo that is easy to work with. And if you don't have a photo that's clear, exposed well, both light and dark side, it's not too dark, it's not too light, but it's got both light and dark with good shadow shapes and good detail, then you're going to have more success. So I'm not sure what the photo reference looks like, but I can kind of see, again, if I describe that inside corner, you know, and I like to think of the box, of the head as a box, I'm going to get that stair step structure. So right away, that's kind of telling me the story of a masculine face, of a face in general, and then a masculine face, because there's a strong uh, sense of the bone structure underneath. And so I'm going to set that up, and that's going to allow me to go darker in my shadows. And now I'm going to have that nice dark light setup that's crucial for expressing form, you know, squeezing more volume, more architecture out of our drawings. A little darker, so I can go a little darker on that core shadow. And it's soft, right? Because we're going over cheek, muscle, fat, and some bone. When we get to the chin, it's bone, so it's more firm. And then we're going to have this, if the light, right, light direction is really important. So if the light is coming 3/4 down from the front, you know, we're going to have some kind of shadow here. We've got bone and cartilage, and maybe it's going to go like this. I can animate the drawing. I could animate the drawing, huh? I think we're talking about that last one. You can really have some fun with liquify. Okay, so we have form shadow of the nasal bone. That's going to be followed by some kind of cast shadow. Remember, form, cast follow each other. You know, we could have a cast shadow right there, or it could be a very soft form shadow. Let's fill in the darks. You know, it's the shadow map, fill in the darks. Be consistent, right? Everything facing to the left and down in this world is in shadow, right? So we're going to have maybe a little bit of cast shadow under the upper lip just for fun. You see how we're kind of getting a little bit more bang for our buck here. Oops. Okay. Just try to analyze it. Look at, think about the light source, think about the model, which planes, right? The planes that are facing up and the planes that are facing to the side and the planes that are facing away, they're all going to get different amounts of light. So if we're thinking of the light coming from this direction, this one may get light, this one might get a half tone, and this would be in the shadow. So the orientation of the planes is crucial to where they are in relation to each other, right? So we've got the lightest one because it's facing towards the light. And then this one's getting a little bit less, and this one's completely receiving no light. Okay, so we just analyze that. Top of the nose, to front of the cheek, top of the chin, forehead. Those are all front facing the light planes. So the same value, same plane, right? This plane is like this plane. It's like that plane. It's like some of this stuff here. Light them accordingly, right? Give them a value that is the same. Ones that turn away, give those a similar value treatment. Okay, so we have that. And then that top lip is going to be facing away from the light, so I can give that a dark tone. I'm working with this, okay, dark tone. I want to get tight right in here, take off some of this texture. That cast shadow, which is a projection of the ball of the nose, is going to be tight right there. The umbra and the penumbra of the shadow. It's going to get hard right next to the object and softer. Okay, good stuff. So let me fill that in, go back to my texture. Okay, a little occlusion shadow at the alar facial groove where the nose meets the cheek. No light escapes from there or gets in or out. So it'll get that dark accent. And then side of the nose to the cheek can be very gradual and subtle. That's a tough one. And then I'm going to put in, I'm going to grab my value scale here and say a value number 3 would be a halftone. And so now I'm sneaking in the opportunity to build the light side in that halftone. The dark halftone is so crucial, and doing that really starts to bring in the form. And so I'll just think it through, right? It's usually right before the form turns into the core shadow. That's where you're going to find this dark halftone, the value number 3. Right? All different kind of foreheads. It's not rocket science. It's fun once you can start to analyze this. You have some real power. Go into my course and I teach you how to do this using the planes, mapping it to the value scale, and then you can create characters, comic books, storyboards, and you can enhance. If you're working from life or from photo reference, you can enhance it. You don't have to copy it. Your job is not to copy something, but to make it a little bit better, right? By leaving something out or putting something in. And so I'm just kind of going through, and this thing is getting a little bit weirder. I can use my dark accents right in the eyes, you know. It's a little bit dark, but I'm still on that. Okay. So there. Then, so once that's tight, that's what I was trying to do, was get this to a place where it's kind of tight and it's carrying a lot of the weight of the communication of this object. And then I can do my flourishy kind of stuff. The thicker the eyebrows, the younger the person will appear. And probably this area between the eyebrows is going to be dark. It's a downward facing plane, so I'll just sneak in a half tone there. Okay. I want to darken up the core shadow a little bit. Okay. And then I can do the fun stuff that you're doing. Cut off some of that neck. Okay. Because right now the background texture is kind of not yet, let's say, designed enough. Maybe it's not dark enough quite yet. So it's there, but um, you could maybe develop it a little bit more. This takes some experimentation, but what you have done is you've designed a nice shape, meaning this. Okay, that's great. It's a shape, it's a value shape, and that's strong, and it makes it hold together. So I like it. Now we just need to commit to it, let's say. And I would probably, let me just check my messages here. I would create some contrast on the side that he's looking. So we're going to accommodate the gaze on that. So I'll just kind of keep a simple brush here and try to, try to get tricky a little bit. Not too tricky, but right. Light holds dark, dark holds light. So I'm going to put the contrast of dark next to that light side, and then your eye is going to go to the area of greatest contrast. So I could do it like that, I could put in stuff like this, or I could do it, I could just do it with line as well. Like I could kind of bring in a darker, thicker line and work over that. That's a way to do it, like cartoons. You could graphitize it. Alphonse Mucha did that. But see, if you use kind of a thick, thin line, you can create some interest there, right? And that kind of holds it and grabs attention, right? So you have nice, crisp lines on this side, and on the shadow side, the opposite side, you have blurry, indistinct lines, lighter lines, blurrier lines, less crisp, right? In the shadows, things are hazy they're indistinct. They're not clear. That's why they're in the shadows. So I would kind of just, let me see if I can get back to another kind of, like that texture in there. It's a little natural. Okay, so I'm using the contrast next to the form, pulling it, punching it from the background. And I've got these abstract shapes, that I can play around with these opportunities to get loose and abstract, which I totally love. But, you know, I like areas that are defined, contrasted with areas that are not so much, and you'd have to kind of play around. Here's where a thumbnail could come in handy, where you could do a thumbnail. A little messy with my layers here. Do a thumbnail to work it out. Do what the Italians do, the disegno, right? Is do a little drawing off to the side where you can work this out, and then come back into your drawing. And you don't want to mess this thing up, especially if you're into it, you're almost done, you think, well, what should I do with the background? It's like an afterthought, right? A little dangerous, but we get ourselves in trouble. So I would try to, smudge this around, get some movement happening in here, play around, but try to keep that nice graphic geometric triangle there. We have some nice soft texture. And it's just kind of a support, So what I was saying about the design, is that if you just up in the corner, you suddenly you do some couple thumbnails. To solve this problem, right? You get this beautiful face you're working on, and you got this dude here. And you got this empty space around him. What are you going to do? How are you going to resolve these things? This is where we screw up a lot. And pieces go a little bit bad. So we could have a nice triangle shape, or we could explore a circle. Let me just a little bit quicker on off here. Oh, there it's over there. Okay. Right, I can just quickly say, well, maybe I want a circle, and maybe I want it kind of dark, or middle dark, against a dark face. That's my thumbnail. That's the small, bare bones sketch where I'm working it out. You know, maybe I want, some kind of diagonal coming through. So I got my guy here, nose, eyes, cheek, just the dark light pattern. And then, maybe I want this gradation, this diagonal to come through here. Maybe that's how I want it. Or maybe I want it like that. Or maybe I want it a gradation from dark to middle, from top right to bottom left. And maybe that's, that one gets me and it gives me a thumbs up, maybe that's it. So then I can come back here and I don't have to waste my time, my paper, and I think you know what I'm talking about. This is going to have like a cast shadow down here too. Let's go back to this brush. Right, so if you just think everything through and then leave time for designing some of this stuff. Push that ear into the shadows. It's better. Okay. Then you're going to have more fun and I think more success than you might, that I'm sure you want, but more fun than you might think you would have. And there you go. Okay. So we did a lot, but it's all there. It's just a matter of experience and kind of tweaking it. Okay. Because you have a lovely drawing. The proportions are there. The parts are there. The features are there. The design is there. It's well placed on the page. We get a sense of the light direction. Just got to like push it a little bit more. Okay. Great work. I think we're kind of about an hour into it. And I think that's kind of good. If you're interested in the battle for creativity that we're going to go through, I'll have it on my shop over at drawjuice.com. It's not there now, but it'll be there in the next few days. So drawjuice.com. Go there. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Give a comment. Push the video out there in the YouTube algorithm. Give it a like. I would really appreciate that. Like I said, I'm almost at over 12K subscribers. If you could help push me over that milestone, that would be great. I would love that and be very appreciative. Let me just check the chat here and see if people have any questions. And if not, I'm going to call it here. Okay, good. You guys, thanks for coming. Really appreciate it. Great to see you. And guys have a great evening, and I'll see you next time. Okay. All right, everybody. Peace out. Lots of love. Stay safe. And I'm out. Bye-bye.